Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Connect2STEM Live TV. Now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we are going to turn it over. Let me stop sharing. Sorry, got a couple. I think we're ready. Catrice?
Absolutely, we are all ready to get started, and we're so excited to be here today with you all. Awesome. All right. Well, then let me quick share my screen so we can go ahead and get started. Again, thank you all so much for joining us today. We're very excited to be here and to teach you all about the world of STEM or STEAM. So, I'm Catrice Swenson. I'm the Education Outreach Associate for the Maricopa County Air Quality Department. And we are so excited to be here today, kicking off the Connect2STEM Live TV event. And at today's event, we're going to introduce you to all things STEAM, from A, air quality, to Z, the Phoenix Zoo. Now, STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And that's how it's a little different than STEM. It does incorporate the arts within it. And we use STEAM all the time and sometimes don't even realize it. In fact, for this event today, you're probably using a computer, a phone, tablet, electricity, internet, microphone, all of these different forms of technology just to make this possible. I personally use STEAM every day in my job to educate the public about air quality and simple actions everyone can take to help keep our air clean. For example, in our job, we use technology to measure the amount of air pollution using special air monitoring equipment. And we use arts to color code the air quality index so that everyone can tell what the air quality is in their neighborhood. Well, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and pass this over to our experts today. Before I do that, we do have, we're going to have each expert talk about their organization today for about 5 minutes. And at the end of that time, we are going to have a question and answer session. So as our experts are speaking about their organization and what they do and how that relates to STEM or STEAM, go ahead and pop any questions in the chat. And if we have time during their time, they will answer it. Otherwise, we'll make sure to get to it during the question and answer portion of today. So without further ado, first up is my colleague, Jenny Frank, who's going to give us a little bit more information on air quality.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending our STEAM event today. I'm Jenny Frank, Education Outreach Coordinator for the Maricopa County Air Quality Department. As Catrice said, I work very closely with her. And welcome to the Maricopa County Air Quality Department's virtual booth. Did you know the average person takes about 15 breaths per minute, inhaling nearly 2 gallons of air? I don't know about you, but I can't drink 2 gallons of water in just 1 minute. And yet that's how much air we breathe in. This means we inhale more than 21,000 breaths per day, which equals 2,880 gallons of air. Because we breathe in so much air, it's very important that we do whatever we can to protect our air and keep it clean. Now, you may have heard of air pollution before. Air pollution is anything in our air, any substance in the air that can harm humans or the environment, which would include plants and animals. Now, there are many pollution sources, many different sources. Some of the most common sources here in Maricopa County include car exhaust, activities that produce dust like construction or off-road vehicles, riding those in the desert, burning wood, which creates smoke, so burning wood in your fireplace or maybe an outdoor fire pit. And then also we have businesses that produce emissions like gas stations or dry cleaners. So those are some common sources here in Maricopa County. We can't always see air pollution, but I'm going to show you an example of a day when air pollution became so high, air pollution levels became so high that we could see how bad the air quality really was. So these pictures were taken on New Year's Day, 2016, as Phoenix slowly awakens to a chilly morning. Let's see what happens as people are waking up. So if you would cue the video. Thank you, Catrice. So as you can see, we started off with not great visibility, but as the morning progresses, the buildings are getting harder and harder to see. And then the mountains in the background are getting harder to see. So we had really, really poor visibility as air pollution built up during the day. Now, Some people say that it looks like that's clouds or fog there in the picture, but it's not clouds, it's not fog. What you're seeing is air pollution. And because of the weather conditions that day, that air pollution stayed trapped near the ground where people were breathing it in. And it's especially bad for our friends who have asthma or anyone who has breathing difficulties or any type of heart problems, anything like that. Air pollution is really, really bad. So I want you to think about the activities that people typically want to do around the holidays. Things like lighting off fireworks or burning wood, having a fire in their fireplace or their outdoor fire pit. So in order to limit air pollution around the holidays, we recommend using cleaner burning alternatives. And those are things like propane fire pits that don't produce smoke, or a gas fireplace rather than a wood burning fireplace. And please don't burn wood on a no burn day. That will really help a lot. Later in the event, you're going to receive a link to visit the virtual exhibits of all of our participating organizations. So while you're independently exploring, I invite you to come back to our air quality booth, click the objects on our slides like the lungs or the activity book or even the virtual escape room to learn more about air quality and ways you can help reduce air pollution. Thank you for helping us to take action to keep our air clean so we can all breathe easier.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jenny. That was a great explanation. Again, if you have any questions about air quality, make sure to put those in the chat either now or during our question and answer session that we're going to have towards the end of all of our presenters today. They also put a link to our website on the in the chat. You can also visit us at cleanairmakemore.com for more information on how you can help. So next, we're going to move on to our next panelist who's here today to teach us about their organization and what they do. And so we have Ellen Spielman here from Flood Control.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me this morning, and thank you all for being here to come learn about all things STEAM this morning. So at the Flood Control District of Maricopa County, we also incorporate all aspects of STEAM. We have engineers that are constantly working with the community, trying to figure out where floods are happening in the neighborhoods and in the communities, and working on finding solutions to those. And the arts actually come in because we have a whole landscape architect group in our office, and they work to make all of those flood structures more usable spaces so that we can use them when it's not raining, because the majority of the time it does not rain or flood in Maricopa County. So we might as well get use out of those spaces. So our landscape architects actually design and draw and use those art skills to come up with those great spaces for us to use as parks and recreation areas when they're not flooded. So we all work together. We have a meteorologist on staff. We are actually the only county department that has an actual meteorologist on staff. So he works with his group to monitor the weather and the storms that are coming in, so that if we do see big floods coming, big rains that are happening, we want to make sure that we're keeping our community safe. So we work with other emergency management to make that happen. So typically I bring out this great flood model to show why floods are happening. It is on our slide. I am actually going to ask Catrice to play about 2 minutes and 40 seconds of it. I'm going to leave you hanging at the very end to see how we solve the problem of flooding. But if she can start that for me.
Hello, my name is Ellen, and I am the Outreach Coordinator here at the Flood Control District of Maricopa County. And I am going to show you why flooding is a problem in Maricopa County and what we here at Flood Control do to help keep our citizens and our property safe from those floods. So we have our flood model here. And our first scenario is going to show what happens when it rains in the natural environment. So before all of these houses were built in Phoenix, we had lots of desert land, and we still have quite a bit, but we have covered that up with our homes and our streets and our stores. But this is going to go way back in time before all of that was here. And when it would rain in the desert, over those natural surfaces, that dirt, the rainwater would get soaked up into the ground, and then when the ground got too wet or too saturated, that water would start to flow out and it would go into our streams and rivers. We call those our floodways. But it's coming out slowly and it's staying where it needs to stay in those rivers and streams and away from our homes. So we had residents that were building their homes near the water because they needed it for their crops, their vegetation, their animals, and just for their everyday living. But everybody was kept safe. However, people started to move to the Phoenix area and we started to urbanize, which means we were building our homes and our stores. And all of those things are built with hard surfaces. And we call those impervious surfaces, which means water cannot get through that surface. So it's nice and hard. Well, when we've taken out our natural environment, our dirt, and we replace it with those hard surfaces, there's now nothing to help absorb that water. So now when it rains on our streets, our sidewalks, our buildings, our homes, our schools, it's just going to quickly run off of that surface and it's not able to stay contained in our rivers and streams, and it starts to flow up into our land, to our homes that are getting flooded, and this car that tried to drive through it got washed away because that water comes very quickly and it's very forceful and can wash away your car. So we want to make sure that we're not crossing those flooded roads when it rains hard like that.
All right,
so here,
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So if you want to see how we solve that problem, how our engineers, one thing that they can do to solve that problem, you can go ahead and you can click on that video on the slideshow, or you can visit maricopa.gov/STEM and you'll see the video there. We also have links to some activities. Oops, my 5 minutes is up. We have some links to some activities that you can do either if you're in a classroom, if you're a teacher in a classroom, or you can even just do them at home. A lot of them just use regular household materials that you'll find at home that you can do these activities. So thank you all again for being here, and I will turn it back over to Catrice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellen. So interesting. I know when this event is over today, I'm definitely going to check out the rest of your video so I can see what happens. Thank you so much for being here, Ellen. Next up, we have Laura Hackett here from Liberty Wildlife. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to her slide. Oops.
hello, my name is Ellen and
Here we go. We have Laura here from Liberty Wildlife. If you'd like to jump on and introduce yourself for us.
Yeah, hello, I'm Laura and I am with Liberty Wildlife. We are a nonprofit wildlife rescue, rehabilitation, and education center here in Central Phoenix. We've actually been around for 40 years. So this is our 40th anniversary year. So we've been helping the nature of Arizona basically for 40 years. This is my friend Tucker here. He's kind of coming in and out of the screen a little bit if you see me. But on the slide that we have a lot of different little links to tell you a little bit more about our organization. We started off as a really small hospital in the hopes of trying to rehabilitate all the native wildlife that you would find if you were out hiking or just even in your backyard. If you found something that was sick, injured, or orphaned, it can come into our hospital, and we have fabulous volunteers here that are trained to take care of all of them. And the purpose is to re-release them back out into the wild where they can serve their purpose out there. Now, 40 years ago, we had 80 animals more or less come in that first year for help. Last year, 2020 was quite the year for everybody. Last year, we had over 12,000 animals come to our hospital for help. Most people do know us for birds. And when you do come to visit us, you'll see a lot of birds. We have a lot of bird information. But we take in all the native wildlife that you see around you. So we've taken in coyotes, we've taken in snakes and lizards. We have a coatimundi. And if you look at this slide here, you can actually click on Groot the coatimundi and see him eating some of his favorite little treats, which I'll give a little secret away. It's cockroaches. So that's one of the fun things that you can click on our slide. You also see that you can click on some of the other animals there. And well, you can learn a little bit more about great horned owls, which is one of the ones that I'm holding right here, Tucker. Our busy season is coming upon us. It's spring and babies are going to be born left, right, and center. So that's when we see the majority of our animals coming into the hospital for care.
Hi, my name is Doris and I'm a Liberty Wildlife volunteer.
And there you go.
Sorry about that, Laura.
She's going to talk to you a little bit about the owls as well. But the links down on the bottom also show you a little bit more about what we do in our hospital, what you can do if you find a baby animal that maybe needs help this spring. We also do have a hotline. So there's information on the Visit Liberty Wildlife tab about calling us. There's frequently asked questions so that we can help you if you find wildlife and you don't know what to do. What's really cool about Liberty Wildlife is, yes, we're a hospital, but we all are also an education center. So we are open to the public. In fact, we're open right now. I see people walking around on our grounds right now. We have some teens that are volunteering with us and they set up booths, educational booths here. And if you come to visit us, you can actually walk through our interactive room, which has most of our reptiles. So you'll see snakes and tarantulas and different kinds of bugs and lizards. We also have a couple squirrels and some birds in there. And then of course, the big draw is walking around on our educational trail. That's where we have non-releasable eagles and hawks and owls and falcons. And our team is out to talk to you and bring them out of their enclosures so you can see them up close, like you can see Tucker right here. So Tucker is a great horned owl, and they are the most common owl that you're going to find throughout the United States. They're also the ones that when you're a little kid and your parents ask you, what does the owl say? You all say, hoo, hoo. They're the ones that make that sound. He's looking at me right now asking what I'm saying. So the thing that you're going to notice first about an owl are those big eyeballs. The really cool thing about owl eyeballs is they're different than ours in that they're super, super huge, as you can see. In fact, they're so big that they don't have the muscles around them. There's no room for all those muscles that we have that let us move our eyeballs around. So owls are stuck looking straight ahead at all times. That means it's really hard to see everything around them. So the next thing you usually notice about the owl, and thank you, Tucker, for demonstrating, is that they can move their neck a lot. Some people think that they can move them 360 degrees. He's trying right now, but they can't go the full 360. They can go 270 degrees though. So 3/4 of the way around. And that's because they have 14 bones in their neck as compared to the 7 that we have. So we definitely want you to check out our slide, learn a little bit more about the wildlife around you and what you can do to keep them safe, and also learn about visiting us here during public hours or even trying to get a field trip here in the future. Thank you so much, and I look forward to questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura and Tucker, for joining us today. Super interesting to learn about your friend that you brought with us. One question that popped in the chat, and thank you to those who have started to ask some questions, is the animals that you rescue, is it because they're sick? Is that why you rescue so many, or what brings animals to your facility?
That's a great question. Yes, sometimes they do get sick and they can't take care of themselves. They don't have the medicine out in the wild. Sometimes they have an interaction and they get hurt by another animal, maybe a predator. And a lot of times, most of our calls are because they've had some kind of run-in with humans, whether it be with the car, whether it be with the poison that some people put out, or a sticky trap, or even sometimes a window in the buildings that we've put up. So they have a lot of little run-ins, and we're thankful for everybody who's out there keeping an eye on them to get them to our hospital so they can get help.
Wonderful. Well, we're very thankful that you're there to help those animals that need it. All right, we're going to move on to our next presenter today, who is Rachel Schauger, here with our Maricopa County Stormwater Program. If this, don't want to go on that link, here we go. There we go. Rachel, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce your slide and who you work for.
Yeah, so you guys can hear me okay, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
wanted to make sure my mic was still working. I usually have a lot of issues with the Zoom meetings. So as Catrice already mentioned, my name is Rachel. I work with Maricopa County in the Stormwater program. And so our main focus is talking about stormwater, what it is, where it goes, and pollution prevention. So what a lot of people don't know about stormwater is that when it rains, the water does not go to a water treatment plant. In Maricopa County, where we live, we have two separate sewer systems. There's the wastewater system, which is water from things like your toilet, sinks in your house, dishwashers, washing machines. And then we have the stormwater sewer system, which is where the water goes when it rains. So it rains, water hits the ground, washes into the storm drains that you see on the side of the road. And then it goes directly to our lakes, rivers, retention basins, our parks. So anything that was on the ground gets picked up in that water, things like litter, chemicals people use in their yards, oil and gas from cars, dog poop that people don't pick up. All of these things get in our water. And when it ends up in our lakes and our rivers, it can make our wildlife really sick. If people were to play in that water, they could get really sick. So we try to focus really hard on making sure that we talk about our stormwater and picking up after yourself so that our ground stays clean, so that our water will stay clean. So we have a couple different things on our slide that you can click on to teach you a little bit more about all of that. On the table on the slide, we have our stormwater mascot, which is Sam the salamander. He is a Sonoran tiger salamander, which are found in a very small part in southern Arizona. And they're what's called an indicator animal. So when the stormwater gets really polluted and ends up in our rivers, it'll make animals like Sam really, really sick because they can't survive in really polluted water. So Sam is our mascot, so we can talk about how important it is to keep our water clean to help protect animals like Sam who need clean water. And our slide is also partnered with not just Maricopa County, where I work for, but we're partnered with Storm, which is all of the cities throughout Arizona who have joined up with Storm to help promote stormwater education. So a lot of our resources on this slide are from Storm. In the bottom right, there is a little picture of an activity book, and that is from Storm. So when you guys get the link to the slide, you'll be able to click that. And that's for older students, that's like middle schoolers. But I will also put a link in the chat to my activity book, which is a little more for younger students. It's more of a coloring book, but it's still really fun. On the wall, we have our calendar that you guys can click to download a link. It's a free calendar and it has lots of cool art from students throughout Maricopa County, 3rd through 6th graders. It is a poster contest we run every year. So lots of fun art from students like you guys. There's also the information to our current poster contest if you guys want to participate and submit some pictures. Some of our sponsors are actually in this call. Liberty Wildlife always sponsors us every year, so thank you for that, Laura. So our poster contest is a fun way to get involved and learn a little bit more about pollution prevention. If you click the slide, the big slide on the wall, that'll take you to the city of Phoenix, who is one of our Storm partners. And they have a really cool interactive website up where you can click and learn about different parts about stormwater, houses and businesses. So it's really interactive and a lot of fun to click through. So that'll teach you a lot more about stormwater as well. So when you guys get that link, I would definitely recommend clicking through that. Yeah, that's about all I've got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. And I know you mentioned how it's so important to pick up after yourself to help prevent litter and trash from going into our waterways. Something that I also know I learned that was kind of interesting is it's also important we pick up after our pets, correct?
Yeah, very important. A lot of people have dogs, but no one's picking up their dog poop. That's a lot of dog poop lying around.
Absolutely. It's definitely an easy thing you can do. We don't want to have that gross dog poop washing into our waterways. And if you click the little poop emoji, it goes to a really fun video talking about how to pick up after your pets also. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today and teaching us a little bit about stormwater. Again, if you have questions for any of our panelists who are here, go ahead and drop those in the chat and we'll get to those. We have a couple more people before we get to our question and answer session for today. And after that, we will be sharing the link to this in the chat so that you all can go on and explore by yourselves independently after today's event. Awesome. So next up, we have Katie here from the Phoenix Zoo. If you'd like to unmute and introduce yourself and what you do with your organization.
Of course. Hello, everybody. Like Catrice said, my name is Katie and I work for the Phoenix Zoo. And before COVID, what I would help with is our night camps where people stay overnight at the zoo and our summer camps. And I'm really excited. We're actually going to have a summer camp this year. We just started planning. Now, at the zoo, we care most about motivating and inspiring people to care for the natural world. And we use STEAM to do that. Even if you look around the zoo, we use science and engineering to design how those exhibits are portrayed so that you all can learn about our animals and understand how they think, how they feel, where they live. And a lot of science is involved in caring for our animals at the zoo. And we love to teach everybody about everything about our animals. There's so much that we can learn. Animal relationships, animal ecosystems, there's so much. Now, if you take a look at this slide, when you'll be able to explore after we're all done, all of these animal photos are going to link you to parts of our website. So if you want to learn more about animals, all of the animals here will link you to animal facts. So if you want to learn more about our cute little tamarin in the top left-hand corner, you can click on that and learn more about tamarins. So we'll take a quick look at that. So there it is, cotton top tamarin. And if you look back on our slide, we've also got some really cool things for you to explore. This little tortoise here is going to lead you to activities you can do at home, including crafts and games and exercises, lots of fun things. You can even make your own board game and imagine what it would be like to be a kangaroo rat, a really cool species native to Arizona. And the digital safari right underneath that cheetah is going to show you all of this amazing content we've developed in the last year, including keeper interviews and behind the scenes experiences, and just a lot of really cute videos of our sloth, Fernando, which I would be watching those all day. And if you look at Jiwa over here on the right, Jiwa is our orangutan holding the baseball. And if you click on him, you're going to learn about the conservation that the zoo is a part of. Not only do we partner with amazing organizations all around the world, like Hutan and the Gretvy Zebra Trust, we also do a lot of conservation right here at the zoo. We just last year had our first cross-fostering of Mexican gray wolf pups. So basically how that works is we had a litter of pups born at the zoo at the same time that a litter was born in the wild, and Arizona Game and Fish helped us track that wild wolf pack. We introduced our pups into that wild wolf pack, and we've been monitoring them, and they are doing great out in the wild. That's just one example. We are doing so much with conservation all around Arizona. And enrichment, that's a really fun one too. That jaguar will show you a little bit more about how we care for the animals at the Phoenix Zoo and how we keep them mentally and physically engaged. Because if it was just an empty lot, our animals wouldn't have a lot of fun. So we want to make sure they're always having a good time. And we use science and technology and engineering to create really cool toys for them that will reinforce their natural behaviors and help them have more fun. Up at the very top is going to be where you can learn more about our virtual programs and camps. Like I said, we are going to be doing summer camp this year, and we have a lot of virtual programs available already, including a brand new one, Project Orangutan, where you can design your own behavioral enrichment for an orangutan at the zoo. So that will use the engineering design process. And we've got some new ones in the works. So even if you check this website again next week, there's going to be some new programs for you to check out.
That sounds so great. There's awesome stuff going on at the Phoenix Zoo, virtual and in person, when we can do that. But it sounds like you have some new opportunities that are popping up. How great is that? I love that you're working with the Arizona Game and Fish. They're actually one of our partners. When we send this, you'll also be able to explore their slide, and they have some fantastic resources. All of our organizations are very interconnected and all have very similar goals in conservation and protecting the environment. And that's what's great about STEAM, is it kind of brings everything together. So thank you so much, Katie, for being here, telling us about the zoo and all of the fabulous resources that you have available. Next up is actually, that is actually all of our panelists for today. So there were a few questions actually that popped up for Katie while she was giving the presentation. So I'm actually going to start with you. So if any of you have questions about any of our panelists who are here for today, you can start entering those in the chat. First up, for Katie, since you just presented, I'm going to go straight to you. What's your favorite animal at the zoo, and do you like working for the zoo? What is it like to work for the Phoenix Zoo?
Oh, I love working for the zoo. I get to work with so many amazing people who are so passionate about what they do. We all care so much about animals, and we just want to share everything that we know and get everybody else really excited about it too. And that's just so infectious to be around. My favorite animal at the zoo is probably the elephant. I have a lot of favorite animals. If you ever do a program with me, I'll say that everyone is my favorite, and I'm telling the truth. But elephants, there's just still so much more we're learning about them. Their ability to empathize and care for one another, and just how intelligent they are. They are really amazing creatures.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Again, please keep putting those questions in the chat. I'd actually love, because I know Laura also interacts with a lot of animals, to hear what her favorite animal is to work with.
It's funny enough, I actually used to work at the zoo too. So I had some really cool animals that I worked with there. Tucker would be really mad if I didn't say great horned owl. So they're definitely at the top of my list. Funny enough, my favorite animal has always been goats, domestic goats. And while we take care of native wildlife here at Liberty Wildlife, we do actually have 6 domestic goats that we use for sustainable lawn care, so that we don't have to use any kind of pesticides or anything. So I'm lucky enough that even though I'm working with native wildlife, I still get to play with my favorite animal, with the goats, on a daily basis.
I love that. That's awesome. We have some more questions coming in. Thank you so much, Laura, for answering that question. Jenny, this one would be for you regarding air quality. Can you please revisit what to do on a no burn day, or maybe tell us a little more information about what a no burn day is?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So on a no burn day, those are called when we know that weather conditions are going to trap pollution near the ground, and that typically we have those during the holidays. So what we ask people to do, it's really simple, is please don't burn wood. So if you have an outdoor fire pit that burns wood, please don't burn wood in your outdoor fire pit on a no burn day. And then also, maybe you want to trade in that wood burning fire pit for a cleaner alternative, a propane fire pit. And then you can have your holiday fire out in your fire pit that won't produce the smoke that goes into the air. That's a problem for people to breathe in. So really kind of the simple answer is just remember, don't burn wood. And then cleaner alternatives are things like a gas log set, which I think most new houses are required to put those in. I don't think we're putting wood burning fireplaces in any new home construction. But you can also change out, if you have a wood burning fireplace, you can change it out to a gas log set if you have the availability of getting the gas. And then also, again, the propane fire pits. So great question. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can learn if it's a no burn day by either visiting our website or cleanermakemore.com, or you can download a mobile app that will tell you, so that you know if it's an okay day to burn, or if we're asking you not to burn on that day. So very great question. I do see some more questions coming in, but I did have a question for Ellen that I was really curious about. Ellen, we live in a desert, and you talked about all these flooding issues, but why is there such a problem with flooding when we live in such a dry area?
Great question, Catrice. So yes, we do live in a desert. And like I said earlier, and like Catrice said, it does not rain very often. But when it does rain, especially in the summer months when we get our monsoon storms in, it rains really hard, really fast. We get a lot of rain in a short amount of time. And our ground here in the Phoenix area is very hard. It's almost like a clay-like dirt as opposed to a sand. So that ground isn't able to absorb the water as quickly as it's coming down. You take that and you combine it with all of our hard surfaces from urbanizing and building up our city. So our cement, our streets, our buildings, all of that also can't absorb the water. So now you put these two things together, or three things together, with the rain coming down really hard and really fast, and the ground just can't absorb it that quickly. So it creates those flash flood events that we have that you see, again, mostly in the summertime during our monsoon season.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for explaining that. Sounds like we do have to worry about flooding here, especially because we're in a desert.
We do, for sure.
Awesome. I have another question that came in the chat about the animals. They were wondering if there are at the zoo, if there's pigs at the zoo, someone was wondering. And then also about any funny animal moments that you've maybe had or experienced while working.
Certainly.
And
Now,
we'll ask Katie that first, and then, and then we'll probably ask Laura those same questions because they're both related to animals. Well, maybe not the pig question, but maybe any funny animal questions.
Oh, I'm really excited for Laura's funny stories. So we have warty pigs at the zoo. We don't have pigs that you would find at a farm, although we do have several farm animals. Pigs, funnily enough, are not one of them. We also have peccaries, but as much as they look like pigs, they're actually more related to hippos, those javelinas you see around Arizona. For funny stories, I have a few, but one of my favorites was just this summer. We had several programs where we did storytelling, and we have an employee at the zoo who's written books about the animals that live at the Phoenix Zoo. And one of them is about Seymour the naughty goat. And Seymour is just a troublemaker all around, a lovable troublemaker. He steals people's food and tugs on their clothes. And we did this story in the goat yard. And we're setting up, we're ready to go. And who is it but Seymour trying to knock down our tripod? And of course, we got everything ready. We made it happen. And the whole thing's about him. He came, he did his destructive thing, and then he vanished. We didn't see him the rest of the program. So that's my funny story. But we actually have a program coming up too, all about stories from the zoo. So there's a lot more stories to tell, but they're not mine.
That sounds great. That's so funny. Laura, I'd also love to hear if you've had any funny experiences with animals.
Yeah, animals are so unpredictable, so you never know what's going to happen when you're working with them. One of my favorite animals to work with is our Coatimundi Groot. And he came to us when he was about 8 months old. He had been kept as a pet illegally in Indiana, so he was confiscated and brought to us. And Coatimundis are in the raccoon family. They're native to the Southwest, and they're very similar to their cousins, the raccoons, in that they're very curious and playful. So he was cute and little at 8 months old, and he had no manners because the people who had him before just let him run loose, I guess. And so he would jump all over our bodies and crawl all over us, which was cute because it was winter time and we had jackets and jeans, and he was little. Well, as he got older and it got warmer in Arizona, we moved into tank tops and shirts, and he got heavier, and he started crawling all over us. And they have very, very pointy, sharp nails. And so that started to get a little too much for us. So we've since trained him, and he does not crawl on us anymore. But he does love people, and he's very much an indoor coati, even though we're trying to make him realize he's supposed to be an outdoor animal. So when he's in his outdoor enclosure, he's got all these blankets and a dog bed and a hammock, and we go in to feed him sometimes and cannot find him. And we always are searching, and you're looking in every corner, you're shaking the food, you're just trying to get him out. And all of a sudden you see these bundles of blankets just start moving a little bit. And then his little snout sticks out, and he just comes out from under the blankets. And it just always makes us laugh because he just looks like he just doesn't even want to get out of bed. And I think we can all relate to that. So that's always fun for us.
Oh goodness, that's so fun. I wish I was living his life. That sounds great. Someone to feed you, blankets, a hammock. That sounds like an awesome life. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I was wondering a little bit more also about maybe how people ended up working in their job that they're working now, maybe a little bit about their education background, if they always knew that they wanted to do what they're doing right now, or maybe what led them to this career path. So I would love, Rachel, if you could tell us a little bit more about maybe how you ended up working with the Stormwater program.
Yeah, sure. I have been working with the county for 4 years now. And I started out as a swimming pool inspector, which is very similar to like our restaurant inspectors who go and make sure that our food is safe. I did the same thing, but with swimming pools. So if you ever swam in a city pool, at a water park, a hotel, if you live in an apartment complex that has a pool, we're the ones who go and make sure that pool is safe for you. So I worked with that department for 2 years. And then this position that I'm currently in, the Stormwater Outreach Coordinator position, opened up. And I wanted to change, so I applied for it, and I really enjoy it. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and it's really fun. I love getting to talk about helping the environment, and I love working with kids, and that's my main focus. Is in a normal year, not so much with COVID, but in a normal year, I go to schools and do special programs talking about stormwater and pollution prevention. So it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy getting to teach people about how we can help keep our environment safe.
That's great. Super interesting career path to hear about. What did you study in school?
I studied biology, so I got a bachelor's in biology. I didn't really focus on anything specifically, so I kind of have a very broad knowledge of a lot of things as opposed to a lot of knowledge about one thing. So very flexible.
That's awesome.
For stuff like this.
Yeah, well, that's great because it sounds like you got a really good science base and then you were able to kind of expand and try out a few different things. So that sounds really great. I would love to hear some of our other panelists. And again, if you have other questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I would love to have them answer the question that you all have today. But Ellen, I would love to also hear a little bit about your background and how you ended up working with the Maricopa County Flood Control District.
Sure. So my background is I was actually an educator for 18 years. So I went to school to be a teacher and then a principal. So I taught for 8, and I was a school and district administrator for 10. But my favorite subjects to teach were always math and science. When I was able to kind of departmentalize and pick just specific subject areas as opposed to general education, I taught math, science, and I actually taught kindergarten through 8th grade technology as well. So obviously STEM was kind of a big part of my background as an educator. I was a principal of a STEM school, so we had opened a brand new STEM school. So getting to choose all of the technology for that school and being able to incorporate it into the curriculum was super exciting. So then this opportunity came up. The Flood Control District was looking to do something actually similar to air quality. So I know the air quality program had theirs first, and Flood Control was looking for something similar. They had purchased the flood model that you saw in the video earlier, and they needed an educator to come in and create the lesson plans to go with it and to be able to go out to schools and work with kids. So again, obviously I love being with kids. I love being in the classroom and out at community events. So it kind of just sounded like a natural fit for me. And I was kind of looking for a change. Anyway, kind of slow down my pace a little bit. And so that's how I came to flood control. And I've been here almost 3 years and love every minute of it.
I love that. And that's how sometimes we like to incorporate that arts aspect, I think, because we need people who can teach others and can bring science to life so that everybody can understand what's going on within the STEM and science world. So that's wonderful to hear about your experience and how you came to be in your position. Also, Ellen, there was one more question for you that came in relating to floods. Do you think that we will have a flood anytime soon since we have been in a drought for so long?
We have been in a drought for so long, and that is extremely concerning and definitely something that we watch over at Flood Control, and a lot of our engineers and of course, our weather gurus kind of watch that as well. As far as a flood, I have not spoken to our meteorologist to see the forecast of what this monsoon will bring. Our last 2 monsoon seasons have definitely been very dry. We have not had our big monsoon storms that we typically see. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that this year will be different. But you can also always on our website, at the flood control website, they post a forecast every day. So you can always go onto our website and see the forecast that our meteorologist will post, and he'll give predictions on what the monsoon will look like as we get closer to the season. Good question, though.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's really great to know that you can go on the website and check out all that information. I would like to then circle back to asking some more people about kind of their experience or how they got into the role they're in now. So Laura, would you be willing to share how you came to work for Liberty Wildlife?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's a really good lesson to everybody watching. Most of the jobs that I've gotten have come because I was a volunteer at a location first. Even from when I was a kid, I was a volunteer at the local nature center, and then eventually got a job as a camp counselor. And my life has just always involved nature and animals, and I always knew I wanted to do that. So I just always volunteered whenever I could. When I was in college studying biology, I volunteered at the local animal shelter. When I moved out here to Arizona to go to grad school, I volunteered at the Arizona Humane Society. That job eventually that volunteer position led to a job at the Humane Society. While I was at the Humane Society, I was volunteering at the zoo. And then that position led to an actual job at the zoo. While I was volunteering at the zoo, while I was working at the zoo, I was volunteering at Liberty Wildlife. And that once we opened up our facility and we needed an education coordinator, they knew me, and I worked well with them, and I learned a lot on the volunteer job here. So they knew to hire me and bring me on board. So it's a lesson that I teach my kids, and I try to talk to everybody that volunteering is super important. One, you get to explore all different kind of aspects. So, if you volunteer in one location, you can learn if that's really what you want to do. And then you can leave and try and find something different. It's a really great way to taste the different areas that you can work at. And then two, it gets you known. The people who you volunteer with get to know you. And we're all, like you said earlier, we're all connected. We all work together really closely. So that'll bring recommendations then down the line and references for future jobs. So yeah, I've just been lucky that all of my volunteer jobs have then moved into an actual job that I've been passionate about.
That's great. Plus, I know organizations rely on volunteers so much to help them with their missions and sharing with the public all of the wonderful things they're doing. So it's great for you, and it's great for the organizations, and it's cool to be able to see some of that behind the scenes stuff that goes on also, which you get to do when you volunteer. So I also just want to point out how cool it is that you can kind of study science, or even if you don't know exactly what you want to do, you can try out different things. I studied biology. Laura, it sounds like, studied biology, and Rachel studied biology, and yet we're doing completely different things in the field. And so it kind of shows that if you are interested in something, you can try out working in that field, see if you like it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can pivot as long as you have kind of that background and you've had a broad background within science. So really cool how you can do that. Katie, if you also want to share kind of how you got your job with the Phoenix Zoo and how you came to be in this career path.
Yeah. So when I went to college, I actually studied business. So this path kind of found me. As soon as I got out of college, though, I'd always loved working with kids. I'd always loved going to the zoo and just learning new things. So when I got out of college, I actually signed up with AmeriCorps and worked in different schools with a company called Playworks. Now, AmeriCorps is not a full year job, so I needed a summer job. And that's how I ended up at the zoo. I worked for one summer as a camp counselor, and I loved it so much, I plotted for 5 years how to get back. It probably would have been a lot faster if I took Laura's strategy of volunteering. So definitely recommend that, because 5 years was way too long to wait to get back. So I kept on watching like the career opportunities at the Phoenix Zoo. And when I saw this one posted to help with night camp, I went to a night camp at the San Diego Zoo when I was a kid, and it marked me for the rest of my life. You know, it kind of sparked my love for animals, and I wanted to do that for somebody else. So I'm glad I'm here, and it all worked out.
Awesome. I love that so much. We have just about 3 minutes left here. Thank you all to our panelists for sharing everything. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today by sharing a link in the chat to a Padlet discussion board. And what we would love for you to do is to go onto that Padlet discussion board and leave a comment about your favorite thing that you learned today, whether that is about our backgrounds, about some of the different topics. And after we share that Padlet link, then we're going to be sharing the links to all of the exhibits today. So if people can go on to that Padlet, you may need to be on Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. It tends to not work as well on Internet Explorer. And just leave us a comment about what your favorite thing was about our experience today. We would love to see that. So I'm pulling it up right now. So for example, you can just kind of click down here, put in your first name in the title, and then say what you loved learning today. So I loved learning about the fact that we breathe in almost 2 gallons of air every single minute. That's a lot of air. So that's the comment that I would put on this Padlet. All right, so we're going to wait for a couple of those to populate. Oh, here we go. Lots of fun things that people were learning today about the rescue center place because they love bunnies. I love bunnies also. It's great that there's organizations out there that are helping animals that are in need. I love that. And Jason said he loved that Laura was holding an owl. I love that too. I wish I had an owl that I could hold as a friend during presentations. Oh, and I even added a photo. I love that. All right. Any other things that you loved learning about today? Loved learning about the zoo. Looks like lots of people loved learning about the animals. I loved learning about all the different animal facts today also. Awesome. So you can keep adding those into here. But before we run out of time, I do want to make sure to share the link to all of our different exhibits and all of our different partners so that you can go and explore on your own. So let me go ahead and put that link into the chat because we had lots of people asking about how they could go and explore all of these booths. So we have lots of partners today. We had a few of the people here who are part of our event. We also have Arizona Game and Fish. We have the Astrophysical Observatory. We have all sorts of organizations who have put together exhibits that you can go and explore by clicking on the objects in the videos like I demonstrated during our event today. So when you click on that link, which I'm going to click and show you, it's going to take you to our virtual STEAM event. And then all you need to do is click present up in the top right corner in order for it to have the same view like we did today. So this link is going to stay live, so you can go back at any point, watch the rest of the flood control video, click on some of those objects like at the Phoenix Zoo, learn about how you can make your own enrichment activity, watch the rest of that flood control video, do that interactive stormwater activity, maybe click the links or do our escape room. All of those are things that you can do today. Oh, it said access denied. Let me quick change that sharing privileges so that you can all actually access it. All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulty should be fixed now. You should all be able to access that link. All right, if that looks like it is about our time for today. I want to thank you all so much for being here, getting up a little early, maybe on a Saturday morning to hear all about STEAM and STEM. We want to thank Connect2STEM for having us here today and inviting us to talk a little bit about what we do. So thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Caroline.
Thank you all, and thank you for a special appearance from Tucker. What a way to launch Connect2STEM Live TV. Thank you all for great presentations, and congratulations to Katie, who won her very own Connect2STEM t-shirt. So stay with us for each of our sessions. We will be randomly picking a winner from each session. And speaking of sessions, stay with us because coming up next at 11 o'clock is Breathe In, followed by 11:30 inside the Artificial Tissue Lab, Part 1, noon, tour the Palo Verde Generating Station. Now, this is something that you're not going to have a chance to do unless you join us at noon. This is once in a lifetime. And 1 o'clock, you're going to learn how to create a work of art using geometry. So math and art equals fun. So stay tuned for all of these special sessions. Right now, I want to share a special message from the wonderful Be Kind Dance crew. And once again, thank you all to our presenters this morning, and we look forward to our next session coming up soon.
Wasn't that fun? You did great. Do me a favor. Before the end of the day today, tell a friend or grown-up something you learned today. Be sure to check back for more Connect to STEM TV. There's lots more cool videos to check out. You know what? I should invite my friends to join the next session so we can work together virtually. Don't forget you need to register here. Special thanks to our sponsors, Banner Health, APS, for their great support. For more nerdy ideas, follow Connect to STEM on Facebook. And here are some important reminders. Be kind, wash your hands, and mask up.
Great. So great reminders. Our next session starts in just a few minutes. Thank you all.